Hello, my name is Nathan Spinner. I'm joined by Michael Israel. And what is your title in the company you work for?
I currently work for Hoki Grill, which is part of BT's dining services. I'm currently the student general manager here.
He's actually my boss. What is your email address?
Michael I85 at bt.edu.
How many people do you manage?
Currently, right now, Hoki Grill is just shy of about 130 students under me.
And then what type of work do the people you manage do?
So we break up people amongst the shops and floor duty, in which we have people doing Chick-fil-A, Dunkin', Chula, Pizza Hut, cash registers, obviously our cleaning crews, and obviously our stocking crews, both morning and nights.
And most of those people are students from Virginia Tech.
Yes, most of them are students here, with some exceptions of we've had one or two high schoolers in the past, and then we have one or two people who are all college age, but they are working as wage or salary in some cases.
Nice. And then how do I know this manager? He's currently my manager. I'm a student manager at Hoki Grill as well. So he is the general manager. He manages me. He manages every other normal student level employee. How often do you meet with your employees to talk about performance?
So this is a two-part to this answer. There's one aspect in which during the spring semester of the year we do evaluations, in which me and among the other managers I will divvy up students and we will have individual conversations about performances. Outside of that, there are just individual conversations you will have naturally with students, in which if there are active situations I know about or active situations in which I have to stay up on, me and that student are regularly having conversations, whether it's through email or I'm just walking in and we're having those conversations depending on the importance, if it's like related to finances or them being international students.
We meet as managers, student managers, about once every month, and during those meetings we also talk about performance. We also talk about legit anything that could be a concern. But if it's not done formally, it's just done through our student manager meetings if we have to talk about performance, including like our performance as well. And how formal are the meetings that you usually have with the students, not other managers?
Generally speaking, I would say most of my meetings with them lean slightly more informal. I would say as of late, I've had probably a little bit more formal meetings, but that's generally independent of the severity of the conversation. Obviously, if it's related to like something like your termination, it's definitely a lot more formal. When it comes to more side issues in regards to maybe attendance or schedule, it can be a lot more informal, more of like, hey, what's up, what's happening here, you need this, and we move on. It's not much of a problem.
More just like email conversation, if anything. Sometimes, or just like at work, you just talk to them.
I would say personally, in my case, I've probably had more conversation with people in person than email.
Okay, yeah. And then, how do you document these performance conversations?
So, in regards to the evaluations, obviously we have those actually documented and stored in individual student files. In regards to my personal conversation with people, I sometimes have my drawer in which I write down my sticky notes or whatever little reminders I need I need to speak to this person in regards to this, I need to get this done, XYZ, XYZ. Generally speaking, I've done pretty good with keeping it all in my head, but here and there, as of late, been slipping in regards to certain things.
What do you spend most of your time doing as a manager?
What takes up the bulk of my time? I would say, I guess it goes with the name of the profile of I probably spend most of my time checking in on people. So alongside me, there is two people underneath me that I work the most with, which is my administrator and my training coordinator. Typically, one handles our attendance and documentation behind the scenes, and one handles our new hires. And I'm typically balancing the responsibilities of whether or not if one is not here, then I am automatically required to do their job. So in regards to training, if our coordinator is not here, I'm doing it. If the administrator is not here, I have to be the one to go in the trainings or get the documentation. Same thing with the student manager, same thing for anyone else under me. I am constantly the one who has to hop around and make sure certain things are ultimately running, because if anything doesn't, the first person my bosses come to is going to be me. So I'd probably say I spend most of my time hopping around the most. If you want to say if you want me to be more specific with a specific activity, I would say I probably spend quite more time in Banner, which is our program where we deal with people's job codes, so payments, termination, hiring, firing, your work studies. That's probably why I would say I spend most of my time with.
And then you're also expected to work even the normal jobs that our normal student employees work, as in you work Chick-fil-A, you work...
Yes, I am required to have knowledge in all of our areas.
So widespread knowledge of everything that our entire business does. What is the most challenging part of your job?
Full mask off movement. The most challenging part of my job is trying to find a line between me as a boss and me as a person. I would say that despite my academic life, I have more or less made peace with certain things and have been able to pretty much find a good balance between both. I would say that sometimes I myself might struggle with trying to balance out my own leniency or my own diplomatic approach to certain things, and sometimes rough edge that might be necessary in regards to certain things, and also trying to find a balance between my personality and those who are above me, because I have to maintain that relationship not just with my students but also with them, and I'm trying to constantly bounce back and down between this line of finding where is this nice gray zone, and to be frank, it is constantly moving.
And I just want to completely agree. I'm also, like I said before, I'm a manager here, and I'm new, and that finding that line between your own personality and then my people pleasing just doesn't always work when you have to tell people no. So it's just
Hell,
I can always cut it out, but
even as an example, you can add in here when we had our meeting, and I had to start cracking down on students in regards to certain behaviors. That was a necessary hammer that I have to have to figure out how to deal with that without making that situation much bigger, and trying to deal with it more internally amongst the students, if possible.
Trying to keep people happy even though you're taking something that they like away, which is very hard to not make people upset.
Someone's always going to have something.
Always something. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
There is two things I'm very grateful for. One is having this job has shown me so much behind the scenes in regards to management, in regards to how certain things are run, how decisions are made, and what it is that actually matters at certain times. It does add a nice perspective and a bit of sympathy I now have for some of my previous employers, knowing what they have to deal with, what pressure might be on them, how it might range from day to day, and how you just walk in and, there's a problem, and you're the one who has to have a solution for it. So
I think people often view managing as like an easy job, but if it's an actual, widespread, like general management, like you perform, I guess people don't view managers as like a real job sometimes, or it's just like, oh, you're just watching over me, I can do my job, what do you mean? But that there's so much more to it than just keeping people on track. It's like your daily office tasks you have to complete, making sure people get paid, making sure people stay on track. If they if anything bad happens, you're the one there to help fix that, and then go from there.
And then acted as that bridge between both the wage people and the general adults and the students, and having to constantly go back if, hey, I forgot to do this, okay, now I have to go figure this out, hey, I gotta go this, I got this. There's also a part of it in which I would say it is rewarding to being able to be that problem solver. So because of my position, I do have a lot more flexibility in the ways in which problems can be handled, which it's very enjoyable, especially from watching some previous employment to see how they handle problems and what I liked and what I didn't like, and being able to actually have the authority, I guess, to implement those actual patterns. And in all fairness, that whole stereotype of like managers don't do anything, I'm not gonna lie, I also had the opinion sometimes. And in all fairness, the stereotype doesn't come entirely out of nowhere. Some more than less.
It's just based on the manager themselves and how effective and a good leader they are.
And that comes into the whole thing we were talking about with the last question of there's a balance between who you are as a person and who you are as a manager, and trying to find that line between without necessarily losing yourself. Because there is a very much a thing of where you can almost come here and become a different person because of the stress or because you're annoyed, or there's always something.
And try your best to leave that at the door and just be a good manager and the person you are is at the same time. Yeah.
Super important. Leave it at the door. Leave that at the door. I would say most problems might stem from that.
How do you manage an underperformer to get them back on track?
In my experience, when it comes to students who are underperforming, there's usually two main issues that I always find. One, something obviously has happened. It's typically not even in relation to the job. It might be in relation to a manager, a specific employee, or something that happened prior, like they failed a test or something. I would say most of the problems with low performing people are very rarely ever a result of bad training, which is always going to be surprising to me, because as much as someone might have been trained little or trained a lot, you can still very easily tell what problems they are having and where the problem is actually stemming from. So usually in my case, you're figuring out what the actual problem is. Who yelled at you, what happened, yada, 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 and you're trying to immediately clip that in the bud. Whether it's to move into another station, whether it's to say, we're going to figure this out, just talk to me separately. And then there's the other half of it, where there are just people who don't care. It's whether they don't necessarily need the job, maybe they don't have necessarily the same financial obligations as other people, and they just have it as a placeholder. Or you have people who don't care because they're going to get another job, or they're just waiting to graduate, or they don't really take this seriously. Generally speaking, with those people, they generally end up don't lasting long. So it's typically maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, typically not past a semester, they are generally gone. There's going to be almost a natural weeding out process for those individuals. Because you can't last. You don't care enough. Either you're going to end up making a mistake and slipping and doing something you shouldn't be doing. You're not going to come into work, which means you're going to have attendance problems, so you're going to eventually get fired. Or you're going to naturally just stop yourself. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in regards to those types of people.
Alrighty, thank you for joining me, Michael. It was a pleasure talking to you.
No problem, Nate. Anytime.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.